The British Empire, an empire that shaped the modern world in ways we still feel today. Spanning centuries, it brought about enormous wealth, technological advancements, and new global connections, but also left a legacy of exploitation, oppression, and conflict. From a small island in Europe to ruling over a quarter of the world's landmass, the British Empire's story is one of ambition, conquest, and resilience. How did it all begin? And what led to its eventual decline? Let's uncover the entire history of the British Empire. The story begins in the late 16th century. England was not yet a dominant world power. It lagged behind Spain and Portugal, which were already establishing vast overseas empires. England's ambitions were fueled by the need to expand its trade and influence, and to challenge Spanish dominance at sea. Queen Elizabeth I played a key role in setting the stage for the empire. Under her reign, explorers like Sir Francis Drake and Sir Walter Raleigh embarked on daring expeditions. Drake famously circumnavigated the globe between 1577 and 1580, while Raleigh attempted to establish England's first colony in the Americas at Roanoke. In 1585, although this colony ultimately failed, it marked the beginning of England's imperial ambitions. In 1607, a turning point came with the establishment of Jamestown, Virginia, the first permanent English settlement in the New World. This colony survived harsh conditions and conflicts, with Native Americans to become a foothold for English expansion in the Americas. As the 17th century progressed, England began to establish colonies across the Americas. The Caribbean islands, including Barbados and Jamaica, became especially valuable due to their sugar plantations. These plantations relied heavily on enslaved African labor, marking the start of Britain's involvement in the transatlantic slave trade. The triangular trade system became central to Britain's economic success. Ships carried enslaved Africans to the Americas, where they were forced to work on plantations. The raw materials they produced, such as sugar, tobacco, and cotton, were then shipped to Europe, fueling Britain's growing economy. In North America, colonies like Massachusetts, Pennsylvania, and Maryland grew into thriving settlements. Each colony had its own culture and governance, but was united under British control. Meanwhile, in the East, the British East India Company was becoming a powerful force in Asia, setting up trading posts in India and vying for dominance against other European powers like the Dutch and the French. Despite its growing influence, the British Empire faced significant challenges. The American colonies, once seen as a source of great wealth and opportunity, grew increasingly discontent with British rule. Tensions over taxation and representation led to the American Revolutionary War in 1775. In 1776, 13 American colonies declared their independence, and by 1783, Britain had officially recognized the United States. This marked a major setback for the empire, but it wasn't the end of British expansion. Instead, Britain turned its attention to other parts of the world, particularly India, Australia, and Africa. In 1788, Britain established a penal colony in Australia, sending convicts to what was then seen as a remote and harsh land. Meanwhile, in India, the British East India Company tightened its grip, gaining control over vast territories and becoming a de facto ruler in the region. The 19th century was a golden age for the British Empire. The Industrial Revolution transformed Britain into the world's leading economic power. Its factories produced goods that were exported across the globe, while its railways and steamships revolutionized transportation. Under Queen Victoria, who reigned from 1837 to 1901, the British Empire reached its zenith. Canada, Australia, and New Zealand became dominions with significant self-governance, while India was brought directly under Crown rule after the Indian Rebellion of 1857. This period of expansion was marked by both achievements and atrocities. British infrastructure projects, such as railways and telegraph systems, modernized many colonies. However, these advancements often came at a great cost to local populations. The empire's economic policies frequently prioritized British interests, leaving many colonies impoverished. In Africa, Britain participated in the so-called Scramble for Africa, acquiring territories such as Egypt, Sudan, and South Africa. These colonies became key to Britain's global strategy, but their acquisition often involved violent conflicts and exploitation of local resources. The 20th century brought new challenges for the British Empire. The First World War drained Britain's resources and exposed the vulnerabilities of its global dominance. After the war, nationalist movements gained momentum in colonies around the world. The Second World War further weakened Britain. The war effort left the country economically devastated, and it became clear that maintaining control over its vast empire was no longer sustainable. The independence movement in India, led by figures like Mahatma Gandhi, culminated in India's independence in 1947. The partition of India into India and Pakistan marked a significant moment in the decolonization process. Over the next few decades, countries across Africa, the Caribbean, and Southeast Asia achieved independence. By the 1970s, the British Empire had effectively come to an end. Today, the British Empire's legacy is complex. On the one hand, it spread ideas about governance, the English language, and modern technology. On the other hand, it left behind deep scars in the form of cultural suppression, economic exploitation, and conflicts that persist to this day. The Commonwealth of Nations, established in the mid-20th century, reflects Britain's ongoing ties with its former colonies. This voluntary organization includes 56 member states, many of which have chosen to retain the British monarch as their symbolic head of state. From its early beginnings to its dramatic decline, the British Empire's story is a reminder of the power and consequences of imperial ambition. Empires rise and fall, but their impact is often felt for generations. The British Empire shaped the modern world in ways that are both celebrated and critiqued. Understanding its history helps us reflect on the legacy of power and the importance of global cooperation in today's world. Thank you for watching. If you found this video insightful, please like, subscribe, and share your thoughts in the comments. What do you think is the most enduring legacy of the British Empire? Let us know.